Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Nonprofit Fundamentals. I'm Adam Holzberg, joined alongside with April Kushner. And today we have Emily Rasmussen of Grapevine. She's the founder and CEO. So, Emily, thank you for being on today. I wanted to see if you could give us a little background on Grapevine and your background, because you really, in my eyes, are the pioneer of collective giving.
Thank you, Adam. One for that wonderful compliment. I can't take credit for collective giving, but certainly I'm excited to play a role in the space, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here with you and April. So thank you for having me. As you mentioned, Grapevine is the organization that I founded and run, and Grapevine is the only platform dedicated to giving circles, which is a form of collective giving. I think people are more familiar with other forms of collective giving like crowdfunding or donor collaboratives. This is another version of it. And in this model, people come together to connect with each other, pool their donations, and then collaborate to make a larger collective gift as a group. So the most popular model we know of is a model where 100 people come together, everyone pitches in $100, so then they have a $10,000 check to give away. Members in the group can nominate nonprofits, and ultimately there's a vote to decide where that check is going, and then they do it all again 3 months later. So in this model, each member is essentially donating the cost of one lunch per month, but collectively they are donating $40,000 per year to 4 different nonprofits in their community. So as you
That's
can see,
great.
it's very leveraged, yes, very impactful model. And the one other thing I'll just note about it is that in addition to engaging a broad range of everyday people, we also see that this model is getting money to a broader range and variety of nonprofits than traditional philanthropy often is able to. And so in the giving circle space, we talk about how giving circles are diversifying and democratizing philanthropy. And so this is a model that started in the early 80s in the US, certainly has roots that go back globally to cultures around the world in terms of pooling money and investing in their community. But we, Grapevine, launched about 5 years ago to help bring this movement online, make it easier for these groups to run and grow, but also make it easier for people to find them and start their own. So that's where we fit into this sector.
What inspired you to start Grapevine?
Yeah, it's actually a funny story because I used to work in microfinance, and that was very much an on-the-ground community-based model where we were getting money into the hands of local community members to invest as they saw fit. So I had a really strong belief, I would say, in community-based financing for impact from that work. And I was actually working in India for a period of time doing that. And that was around the time when crowdfunding really started to take off. So Kickstarter was just about to launch. Kiva was really taking off at that point. And I didn't have a technology background, but I was really compelled by this idea that tech could help us unlock funds from communities around the world for communities around the world. And so started to pursue that. As I explored crowdfunding, I really enjoyed the model, but I also felt like it was pretty transactional. So I started to think about what could we do that would be different and more purposeful, more collaborative, and came up with this concept of crowd granting as an alternative, which it turns out all these giving circles have been doing that in their communities, for decades. So there was a great moment where they discovered us as we were experimenting, and ultimately we ended up being able to collaborate with that movement directly.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I never heard about giving circles until I heard about Grapevine. So to me, you're the pioneer. Going back to that line, 'cause I didn't know about it. So you definitely made it mainstream. We'll go with that one. You made
I
it
love
mainstream.
Thank you. That was the goal. Let's make it easy and accessible and mainstream. Everyone should be in a giving circle, if not 2 or 3.
That's great. So we got it mainstream now. I'm gonna keep using that word. Is this gonna be like a long-term giving solution? Is this just a short-term item that's gonna fade away? Where do you see giving circles when it comes to charitable giving?
I think it fills a very critical place in the broader philanthropic ecosystem in terms of being a group giving model. We're not going to replace individual giving, right? Where you, Adam, really care about this organization and the school you went to and the organization that you volunteer at. And so I think we'll continue to see that of course. But I do believe that giving circles and just collective collaborative giving more broadly, we're going to see more and more of that. And if you just look at some of the trends reports over the last couple of years, you see that giving circles are now considered to be the fastest growing form of philanthropy. And I think there's a reason for that, right? Like people are hungry for connection. I mean, we talk a lot about uh, the loneliness epidemic and people feeling isolated during and after COVID. And I think connecting around the things that you care about and making a difference together is not new. People have been doing that for a long time. And we've seen different models of that from junior leagues and Rotary clubs to women's funds. So I think we're going to continue to see more of that, but I think we're going to continue to see more modern versions of that. And I believe giving circles and specifically online collaborative giving models are going to continue to grow rapidly as a result.
I think it embraces the technology, right? Like you say, like it's not necessarily something that's new. It's just embracing the technology to connect people together.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's being adopted and adapted by different communities in new and interesting ways. And so there's always kind of a new spin on it, right? When an old kind of concept is adopted by a new community of the next generation in a new way. And so certainly the online technology piece is a big part of that and enabling people to come together, not just in their local communities, but now across geographies to all contribute to support healthy oceans or early childhood education, right? There are different ways that we can conceive of community to come together to make a difference beyond that hyper local concept. And we're also seeing nonprofits and companies now seeing this movement and wanting to get involved. So that's one area where I'm especially excited is the work we're doing with corporate foundations to bring this model into the workplace to enable employees to come together and collaborate through the Giving Circle model. Or even nonprofits who are seeing this as a really great community-based model of a recurring donor program. So, instead of having a simple recurring donor program where we're sending out an update once a year and then just asking everyone to make their donation, why don't we really create a community experience? It's much stickier, it's much more engaging for those members, and think about it more aligned with how these giving circles are doing it. That's creating such a strong sense of belonging and connection that leads to a much stickier and longer term engagement.
I love that. Especially now when giving is on the decline. Giving is not as big anymore. Just getting that stickiness, like you said, for nonprofits, I think that's huge. Really, something that's really needed in this field right now.
I agree. And I think nonprofits inherently are excellent at this. They are relationship builders, right?
Yeah.
They know how to do that. And I think the exciting thing that this brings is that concept of how can we help you take that amazing skill that you have and this amazing experience and product in a sense that you provide where you enable people to feel connected to the work and support really meaningful things. How do we help you scale that to a way that you don't have to be the person on the other side of the table for every coffee chat? You don't have to be the person even connecting each of the donors together to help them engage through small group events and things like that. But in fact, you can leverage technology to take some of that work that you're doing and create a one-to-many community building model instead of just a one-to-one model, relationship building model. So I'm very excited about that. I think it can be transformational for a lot of nonprofits. And we're seeing large ones like Mercy Corps to small ones like Fab Scrap launching giving circles on Grapevine and really leading the way here.
So I'm going to ask a question that I think every nonprofit watching is asking right now is, as a nonprofit, how do I get in front of a giving circle? How do I become noticed? How do I get a gift from a giving circle?
Yes, it's a great question. We get that one a lot. So the first thing that I recommend nonprofits do is go to the Global Giving Circle directory. It's hosted on our website, grapevine.org. You'll find it in the resources section. And there you can search for all giving circles. We've been able to identify more than 4,000 now. And you can search for giving circles near you, focused on causes that you're working on, other elements. And so I recommend doing that. Put together your short list, right? Do your research, find groups you think would be really relevant to you and to your work. And then look and see, do they ask nonprofits to apply? Maybe there's an application opening soon. Do they instead have members nominate nonprofits? Most do. In that case, I always recommend that nonprofits share those giving circle opportunities with their existing ambassadors, with their existing donors, volunteers, and ask. I mean, it's really a wonderful opportunity for them to join a community like this and ask if they'd be interested in joining and participating in that group and being an advocate for them, for their nonprofit when the opportunity for funding comes up. But beyond that, we see giving circles are facilitating introductions to broader donors, potential donors, right? That could be direct donors or volunteers or board members. So there's always the big grant opportunity that the nonprofits are, of course, focused on, but there are many other potential benefits by having some of your existing supporters being in that space and being an advocate for you. So that's number one. I would say number two, if you get a donation from a giving circle, make sure you thank them. We at Grapevine have built a really simple, fun kind of thank you note opportunity for nonprofits to share back with giving circles. Others that aren't on Grapevine, though, you can always, of course, find their information and send them a thank you note. So typical stewardship, I think I will say there can be a challenge with getting the information. Most giving circles are not going to share all the individual donors' information with you. It's more like a donor advised fund in that way, but there's still often a way you can get a message to the leadership to share back. And then the last thing that I would recommend is just, as I mentioned before, like Mercy Corps and Fab Scrap have done, think about how this model could be a valuable tool for you, for your own kind of fundraising. And the nice thing with that is when you, I would say beyond building a giving circle community of recurring donors for your nonprofit, by participating in the movement, that also kind of gets you connected to other giving circles. So Fab Scrap, for example, has now been discovered. Their giving circle was discovered by other giving circles on the Grapevine platform just because they were part of the community. And now they've received grants from other giving circles. They've built a partnership with another giving circle around sustainable fashion and did a big thing around Fashion Week. So there are just so many wonderful ways that by engaging in this community, you might, be able to continue to expand your awareness and support from the community.
I think that's really great that you have all of that kind of built into Grapevine, the stewardship, the being able to thank them and have communication with the giving circle is really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. And I think it's really a credit to the nonprofits because it was them reaching out to us saying, how do we get a thank you to these giving circles? And that was something they felt was really important. And so we've seen just incredible engagement from the members on those thank you posts because it is so compelling and wonderful to have that feedback loop.
Yeah,
that's
great.
Mm-hmm. So I think we're getting close to the end.
I was going to ask Emily if we had an example real quick of, when giving circles made a really great impact for a nonprofit.
It's such a good question, April. And we have now moved more than $45 million to more than 6,000 nonprofits across the country. So many amazing examples. But like I said earlier, this movement is known for diversifying and democratizing philanthropy, getting money to smaller organizations that are more diverse and often underfunded, often have a difficult time getting funding, even from their local community foundation, because they're not yet 3 years old, or they don't yet hit the $100,000 or $500,000 annual budget, minimum. And so one example that has stuck with me over time is an organization called Undestructible that supports women who have been experiencing domestic violence. And smaller organization, newer organization, and they were having some financial challenges, weren't able to access some of those other pools of capital but got a grant from a giving circle at just a key moment that enabled them to continue their work, continue supporting women at this critical phase of their lives. And according to the executive director, it was just life-changing. And so I think, that's the thing where this model, it's about the money, of course, but it's also about where it's going, that makes it just so powerful.
I think that's great.
Yeah, that's a great example. I love that. So I think that's a great place to end it. I mean, that's such a high point to leave it at. So Emily, I want to thank you for joining us today, talking about Grapevine and giving circles. And with that, thank you everyone, and we'll see you next time.